Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Nashville, it's time for Nashville Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Nashville Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and folks, we've got an old friend of the show. Julie Hullett is with us. She is the owner, founder of Julie Hullett Concierge. Julie, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you back. So for those two or three people that don't know about Julie Hullett Concierge, let's bring them up to speed. How are you serving folks out there?
Thanks, John. Actually, what I do is I manage people's lives, their household, their chaos for them. Typically busy professionals that want to spend their time doing fun things or things that are important to them, like their hobbies, their family, travel, their businesses. And so I try to pull off some of the tasks from them that tie them up, and that gives them more time to focus on those things.
So sounds like your value proposition is what you might call priceless. I mean, if you're giving people time back, you can't buy time, right?
Correct. And it is one of those things that is the most valuable. And, you know, when you're fulfilling your purpose and meaning in life, it's when you're spending your time doing the things that are important to you. Mm-hmm. So I try to give them that back.
Let's talk a little bit about your background and your trajectory and how you got into this business, why you felt the need to start this business.
In my first career, I was with Bell South, now AT&T, and I was in a corporate executive position and spent a lot of hours working and not a lot of time doing what I wanted to do. But through that experience, I got a lot of really good skills that still serve me today. My organizational ability, my attention to detail. In fact, I was just thinking this weekend when I first started with them, I had to go through a test, and it was an inbox, and you had to sort and put things in priority. And I do that every night before I go to bed now. So that has stayed with me, you know, and because some mornings I get up and I think, how am I ever going to get all this done? But I have found that if I'm organized and I have that priority list together, then it all comes into play and position and helps me accomplish those things. So when I was in that position, I would have given anything to have someone like me to handle those things. So I was with them. I took an early retirement, tried a couple of corporate things, and felt like that they just weren't a fit anymore. I just wanted to do something different. And I knew I wanted to be in a position of serving people. And I wanted to be my own boss. I like autonomy. And this just seemed to be the best fit after I thought about it. You know, what could I give to people in return that they would pay me for? So that all kind of came together in the form of me asking people, would you pay somebody to do this? Would you pay somebody to do this? And then from there, it just sort of rolled out. I had my first client. She told two friends and they told two friends, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how it started, kind of organically homegrown little, I say little, but that's what it started out as, a small business. And then over time, I started getting different clientele and different responsibility. And at some point, the light came on and I thought, you know, I'm really working a whole lot and not getting a lot of return. Mm-hmm. So I decided the best thing for me to do was increase my pricing. And that created some fear with me, as I'm sure it does with all small business owners, because, you know, you worry you're going to lose people. But indeed, the reverse was true. I got new clientele. I got bigger responsibilities. I had more management ability than I'd had before, and the business continued to evolve from there.
Now, what do you mean by more management ability than you had before? What does that mean?
I was hiring people to help me, a contractor basis.
Mm-hmm.
I got hired to do things like remodeling projects where I was managing contractors, and other things like corporate events where I would bring people in, other vendors to help me. I just exponentially started managing projects and people.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, you had more money because you were charging a higher price to reinvest in your clients. That's what I'm hearing you say. This is not just about taking more money and putting it in your pocket. This is about reinvesting in your clients, right?
Exactly. And, the return for me personally was the great satisfaction of not only knowing I was helping people, but I was doing things on a larger scale that contributed more than the running around and smaller things I've been doing in the past.
Right. So let's get into some of those services that you offer, what that looks like. I would imagine every client's different in terms of what you do for that client.
No doubt. So the way my model works is I meet with people initially, and we have a complimentary consult, and they'll give me a big overview of what they feel like they need help with. And then we'll develop a priority list, and I start working on those things. But then what happens is people will say, oh, by the way, can you do this? Or can you do this? One case, I went in to help a client, and their goal was just to get their backyard organized, landscaping, mowing, all the things that go with keeping a nice yard. And then we moved into the basement, and that needed to be reorganized. And then from there, we moved into the house. And then her housekeeper wasn't working out, and could I find somebody for that? And oh, by the way, her child wanted to learn Mandarin, and could I find a Mandarin tutor? And just for the record, there are 147 Mandarin tutors in Nashville, Tennessee, if you ever need one.
Wow. And if you need to know the best ones, call Julie, right?
That's right. And then other people have hired me just to do one thing. Like I recently put together a trip for 17 family members to go to Key West, Florida, to celebrate their mother's 86th birthday. And Key West had always been on her bucket list. And so I put together the itinerary for the visit down there, birthday cake, all the festivities that are going to go with it. And it's going to be a great time. And that's one of my personal favorite places to visit. So I had some inside scoop for them, But so they only hired me to do that. And then I've got, 5 graduation parties this month because 'tis the season. Yep. So, and all those are very different because some people want casual and some people want more formal. And some people want something out of the sky, literally. So, and then I've done other things like I had a gentleman fly me to Chattanooga one time so I could drive a car back for him from Nashville, And then this small things like we take people's cars to the emissions. Well, we used to, but fortunately Nashville's done away with emissions now. But we do take it in for service. I vet people for staff positions for my clients. So I'll do the initial interview, I do the background check, all that kind of thing. And then they make the ultimate decision, but I've done that as well. Pretty much you name it. And if I don't know how to do it, I will definitely find a way to get it done or someone who can do it.
So we talked in terms of you saving time, but there's something else I'm hearing as you talk about some of these relationships and jobs that you were executing on behalf of clients. You help create experiences that they might not have otherwise. I mean, the trip to Key West with the matriarch of the family, and that's an experience, and you're creating memories for that family that they might not have otherwise. That's pretty priceless as well.
Mm-hmm. And an example I love is when I do things so that a daughter can take her mom to lunch and they have a girls' lunch or a girls' afternoon where they get to go out and do stuff, because I'm taking care of that other business for them so they can be together. Or the guy taking his son to the baseball game because I've handled, the contractor at his second home or whatever his project is. So, yeah, that's kind of nice to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Julie Hullett is with us, folks. She is the founder, owner of Julie Hullett Concierge. So, Julie, how does someone get started with you? And how do you judge the best way you can serve the clients that come to you fresh?
Typically, they find me via my website or referral.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll contact me and say, I'm kind of interested in your services. And we'll have a phone call. And then the next step is I offer a complimentary consult because I think it's very important for both parties to like each other, to trust each other. And, I'm pretty intuitive. I know in a matter of minutes if somebody's the right client for me. It depends on the questions they ask, what their management style is. My ideal client is somebody who comes in and says, here's what I need done. Let me know if you need anything. See you. And they just give it to me and let me go.
Sure.
And a lot of people have that ability, especially these days. And when their time is what they're pursuing, they're especially more willing to let things go and let me manage it for them.
Right.
So then we go through the priority list and then basically I get started. I define what my role is, jump in and go for it.
So I would imagine that folks come to you with maybe a specific task that they need to outsource, but you really have to educate them on all the different things you can do for them, which go well beyond this one or two or three things that they've got on their mind.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that comes up in conversation. People ask me what I'm doing for other people, and then they're surprised sometimes to find out. Or they'll say, well, one thing I need to do next week is whatever that task is. And I go, oh, I can take care of that for you. Or I have asked people before, is there a particular reason you didn't ask me to do that? And, oh, well, I didn't think you could do it. I didn't know you could do that, so
right.
It comes around that way too.
Okay. Now I know folks are dying to know, what's the most unusual request that you've received?
Early in my business, I had a client and she and her husband were on a round the world trip with some other couples on small planes. And they landed in the Serengeti and the gentleman became ill. And they wanted him to come back, but she wanted to stay on the trip. And they didn't want him to travel alone. So on Friday, I got an email from her saying, can you be in Nairobi on Monday? And my answer was, yes, I can. Because I had a passport and I was ready to go. And so I flew over there and I was on the ground about 48 hours, only 48 hours, and then flew back with him. And that was pretty unusual. And I'm waiting for that to happen again or something similar because it was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty fascinating. So really, I don't know if the term is the sky's the limit or folks open up your imaginations, but there's a whole lot of different things that folks have never thought of that you can do for them.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, I had a woman have me go to her home one day and cook a pound of bacon because she was having a get together after work and wasn't going to have time to cook it. So it can be anything, John. It can be anything.
I love it. I love it. Folks, you don't know if you don't ask. So get in touch with Julie and ask. So you've got a big announcement that we're covering on this show. So let's let everyone in on the secret. What's your big announcement?
Well, I'm really excited. I get to launch a new podcast, and it's called Time Well Spent with Julie Hullett. And, you know, time well spent for me is when your life purpose and meaning is available to you and you spend your time doing those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the true gift of time management is being able to do what's important to you. But most people, they go from one task to another task to another task. And then they start feeling like they're running in place and they're neglecting the very things that give them joy, which are those things they love, the people they love, the things they want to do. And then as a result, they're frustrated. And so I try to give others the ability to be intentional with how they're living their lives and be able to focus on those things that give them that pleasure and joy. And my hope is that during the podcast, we'll be able to share stories with people from people in professions from everything from culinary to hospitality, marketing, some nonprofit folks, small business owners, to understand how they manage their time and seemingly have it all together and what they've learned about managing their time. And I'm hopeful by sharing those stories with people, it will give them some ability to do that for themselves.
And this goes, I love what you're saying here, because this goes beyond just tip. Not that there's anything wrong with this, but it goes beyond tips on apps or productivity hacks. I hate that word, but it goes well beyond that. It's really profiling folks that have made progress in successfully managing their time.
And they're happy people that are, truly filling a purpose and doing what they love.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's a good thing to share with people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And those stories resonate, right? I mean, stories resonate more than just a lecture.
Or sign up for this course or read these 10 steps.
Right. Yeah. I love that. So, Why a podcast? Why does that make sense for you?
I love connecting with people,
mm-hmm.
and I've found all kinds of ways to do it. Obviously, the ultimate is one-on-one, being with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But so many people these days are tuned into podcasts and other methods of connection. And I listen to podcasts all the time. I love them. I have a lot of drive time, so I utilize that time to listen. And I've just enjoyed it, and I think it'd be a good way to connect with people.
That's great. That's great. So let's give folks some of the details on, we're recording this show here mid-May 2022. Let's give folks some details on when they can expect the first shows to drop, that kind of thing.
Okay, our launch is June 6th. And we plan on having a new episode every other week.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And each show you'll feature an interview with one a leader, if you will, in time management.
Right, someone who has shown by example that it can be done.
I love it. So And let's remind folks, Time Well Spent is the name of the podcast. You can find it on your favorite podcast app. If you search Time Well Spent with Julie Hullett, you'll be able to find it. If you're listening to this show well after May 2022, it'll be in any of the major podcast feeds. The first show's not up yet, but it will be soon. So awesome. Well, Julie, this has been great, and I can't imagine that there aren't some folks that would like to be in touch with you, so let's give them directions on how to do that.
Okay, via my website, which is just juliehullett.com. There's a contact us form on there. And then I'm on all social channels, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. and now a podcast.
That's right. That's right. And again, folks, time well spent. You can find it on your favorite podcast app or on the Business Radio X network website. You can find it there. If you want a shortcut on how to get there, go to timewellspentpodcast.com. You can find the show series there once it gets going. So, Julie, it's terrific to be with you again and to work with you on this podcast. We're excited.
Thank you, John. I'm just over the moon. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, you're going to be great. You're going to be great. Julie Hullett, folks. Julie Hullett, Concierge. Julie, thanks again.
Thank you.
Hey, folks, just a quick reminder. Nashville Business Radio is on all the major podcast apps, just like Julie's show. You can find Nashville Business Radio by searching Nashville Business Radio on your favorite podcast app, and we'd love it if you give us a great review because it's about supporting the guests that are on the show. It's not about us. It's not about Business Radio X. We're the voice of business, and we want to celebrate our great guests like Julie. So if you could help others find the show by doing that, we would appreciate it. So for my guest, Julie Hullett, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on Nashville Business Radio.